Some of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you may have heard me talk about how I first fell in love with ska, which was through the 90s Christian music scene. The first bands that I ever heard that were ska were bands like the Supertones, Five Iron Frenzy, and the Insiders. And to be honest, back then I didn't listen to a lot of music that wasn't Christian. In high school, I started to listen to more, but already in some ways by then the ska boom was sort of fizzling out to some degree. I had friends who had a lot of ska band stickers on their car, bands that I didn't know, but that I had heard of. I saw some ska bands in movies that I watched, like 10 Things I Hate About You and Basketball. But I didn't necessarily, and Clueless, of course, but I didn't necessarily have a deep and abiding love for the ska scene as a whole. I mainly just had this little niche ska scene that I was connected to. And then a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, I started to sort of reconnect with the music that I loved, and I remembered how much I loved ska music. I had sort of always thought of myself in a lot of ways as a punk rocker, but I had loved ska because ska was fun, and it was energetic, and it incorporated elements of lots of other types of music that I loved, right? So like the Supertones, whom I mentioned, several of their songs had Metallica riffs to start out, which was one of the few non-Christian bands I actually had some familiarity with at that point. And so I started sort of reconnecting with ska. I put some feelers out. Hey, what ska band should I listen to? And got just hundreds and hundreds of bands. So it sparked an interest and an excitement in me to dive deeper into the ska scene. And where do you go if you want to dive deeper into the ska scene? And that's what I'm here for. Hey, a minute and 45 seconds in, I'm finally getting to the point. What am I here for right now? I want to tell you about some fantastic resources that you want to connect with if you want to learn more about ska. Today, I'm specifically going to talk about some ska radio and podcasts. Okay? It is absolutely impossible to talk about ska without mentioning the Ska Parade, right? So this is Tazy Phillips, who has been sort of the biggest advocate for ska for like the last 30 or so years. Showed up on MTV, showed up on recently on the Pick It Up documentary, and he has been twice a week doing a radio show. Now, I will admit that the Sunday show is often a little past my bedtime because I go to bed pretty early. But twice a week, he does a show with a different playlist, and he gets down to the top 5. And it's a great opportunity to be introduced to a lot of great new ska and to hear some of the great ska songs from the older days. And I think everybody in the ska scene would tell you that Tazy Phillips is kind of the go-to. Additional to that, there's another radio show called Button Down Radio. And that's a little bit more traditional. It does a little bit more of the northern ska and soul and two-tone kind of vibe, a lot more instrumental ska. But it's also really enjoyable and a great opportunity to kind of feel a different vibe of ska than just that third wave ska that you maybe are most familiar with. Let's talk podcasts. Okay, obviously for me, the first podcast I got to mention is On the Upbeat. So On the Upbeat is a phenomenal podcast that is once a week. There's conversation just about life in general, conversation about things that are oftentimes silly, like the value of Peeps, the candy, the kind of Easter treat or whatever. But they also have some great interviews with great bands. They give you ska news every week, which is one of the things that's most valuable. Finding out which bands put out new singles, which bands have new albums out. They interview bands that you may not be as familiar with. Recently, they interviewed a band that's been around for a while, Joystick, but maybe they didn't get the kind of attention as a band like Real Big Fish or whatever. And Joystick has a new album coming out, so it's a great opportunity to learn about them. And they always, at the end of the day, have their pick of the week where they pick a ska song they've really been vibing on and kind of share that with you. Really fun and entertaining and enjoyable to listen to. And if you like that, you should also check out another podcast called 23 Minutes of Ska. I had the joy of sort of pairing up with 23 Minutes of Ska and doing an episode a while back. Now, 23 Minutes of Ska is a music podcast in the sense that it's really just 23 minutes of music. And it's often they pick out different ska songs on a theme, or they pick out different ska songs that they're just really feeling. When we paired up, I got to pick some ska songs that I really loved that I wanted to introduce people to. And so there was like maybe 8 or so ska songs, and I picked 5 and they picked 3. Just a really cool way to find new ska bands that you wouldn't maybe otherwise know. And one of the guys from On the Upbeat also does 23 minutes of ska. So definitely a cool connection there. Another great podcast to check out that I've been listening to lately is In Defense of Ska. So In Defense of Ska is hosted by a couple of guys, and one of which, Aaron Carnes, just wrote a book that's going to be published very soon. It's already, you can pre-order it right now, called In Defense of Ska. I'm super excited about this book. But In Defense of Ska often kind of is looking at different aspects of ska, different bands, and talking about why ska is not only a valid genre, a very important genre that a lot of other genres have stemmed from, that a lot of music has been made out of, and how it's not, some people kind of look at ska as a joke because there are some funnier ska bands like the Aquabats and sometimes Real Big Fish that maybe don't take themselves quite so seriously as a lot of other genres do. In Defense of Ska, first of all, talks about like how those things are valid, how it's good to kind of be silly, but it also defends ska as a valid genre that has musical weight. So we're 6 minutes in, and I've given you maybe a half dozen or so different things to check out, and there's so many more. How about Ska Punk Daily, which is a really great page on Facebook and Instagram that gives you a lot of great ska stuff. Lately, they've been posting like the top ska music videos of all time. And they're about to start their own record label, which I'm super excited about. And they're going to have some, I think, fantastic releases through their label. I could also mention some other ska labels like Bad Time Records. We could talk about Asian Man Records. So many places for you to go for this great music. I'm going to stop there. And maybe I'll do another one where I kind of go further into depth on this. I really wanted to hit those radio and podcasts right now. So I hope that you'll check those things out. Check out the Ska Box and keep connecting to ska music. Find a band that you like, find an album that you like, and pick it up.